What's going on, everybody? Justin Fensterman back with you with another Fantasy Football Stock Watch report here on FantasyAlarm.com, keeping you up to date with the latest information surrounding your fantasy football teams. Let's go over some of the trendy players around the league. Some players on the rise and some players who are falling when it comes to interest and production. We want to help you win those fantasy football championships, and this is how we do it. We never sleep if we want to win those rings. First, let's talk about players trending up. Travis Fulgham. The Eagles are decimated with injuries. Zach Ertz and Miles Sanders could be joining Alshon Jeffrey, Jalen Reagor, Deshaun Jackson, and Dallas Goedert on the shelf, and that will just create even more opportunities for Fulgham. Fulgham has scored in each of his last 3 weeks, and he's had double-digit targets in his last 2 matchups. After their game against the Giants on Thursday, the Eagles have Dallas and then face the Giants again after their bye. Expect Fulgham to start getting prioritized by the opposition a little bit more. Teams will start to want to take him out of the game, so the Eagles will have to find another way to succeed in moving the ball. Up next, we have DeAndre Swift. After seeing Swift eclipse the 100-yard mark on the ground, fantasy owners should be able to trust him a bit more. Before Sunday's game, we had to rely on Swift getting thrown the ball for him to produce. But after he rushed in 2 touchdowns against the Jaguars, we should start to see a shift in carries in which Swift gets fed more than Adrian Peterson over the next few weeks. After Swift dropped a surefire touchdown pass earlier this year, some lost faith. We could still expect him to get targeted in the passing game 3 to 5 times a game. Swift faces Atlanta, who gives up a lot of points. However, they were able to bottle up Alex Madison in week 6. This is a good test to see if Swift can keep his momentum. He rushed for 8.3 yards per carry on Sunday. Finally, J.D. McKissic. McKissic is another player who is valued way higher in PPR leagues because of how active he is in the passing game. Expect Kyle Allen to continue to look for McKissic as the Washington football team doesn't have many weapons. He was coming off of 2 straight games in which he was targeted 8 times. That's right, 8 times. And in week 6, McKissic caught all 6 of his targets. His main competition for production will be Antonio Gibson, the human enigma, who we should expect to be active in the passing game every single week. But if you look at the breakdown, Gibson was given just 1 more carry than McKissic, and McKissic received 1 more pass thrown to him. It could be a more even split between the two than originally expected. Now for those players trending down. DeAndre Johnson. Yikes. When Nick Chubb hurt himself a few weeks ago, Johnson walked into 13 carries to help out Kareem Hunt in the backfield. Fantasy players, as they should have at the time, knew the Browns were going to continue to run the football, and major bids were placed on Johnson. And since that 13 carry game, he's been virtually non-existent and can't be trusted to start in lineups at this time. After being given 8 carries in week 5, we saw the rush attempts continue to drop as he received just 4 carries in week 6. If that's not trending downward, I don't know what is. He doesn't catch passes as well and won't receive any kind of bailout on that front. I know you bid a lot on him, and you should keep him for depth purposes, with the intention, though, of not starting him until we see him more involved in the Browns offense. Next up, T.Y. Hilton. Man, after seeing Hilton put up a respectable fantasy outing in week 5 when he was targeted 10 times, he caught just 1 pass in week 6. Hilton had a very rough start to the season in which he dropped multiple passes. Phillip Rivers, also struggling to throw multiple touchdowns in the game, has not helped things. He did in week 6. It also doesn't help when a wide open Hilton catches a touchdown pass in week 6 only for it to be taken off the board because of a Colts penalty. Hilton has been one of the most frustrating fantasy players to own this year. The Colts have been without Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, and even Mo Alley Cox sat for week 6. Rivers would rather target his tight ends like Trey Burton and even Jack Doyle than force feed the ball to Hilton. Trey Burton has almost produced the same amount of fantasy points in PPR leagues as Hilton, and he's played in half as many games as Hilton. You can't drop Hilton at this point, but benching him is certainly on the table. Finally, we have Marvin Jones Jr. What the hell happened to this guy? He's had every opportunity to succeed. Kenny Golladay missed the first couple of games, and since returning from injury, Jones has received 10 targets total in his last 3 games. Total, not per game. Total, 1 reception for 9 yards, 2 receptions for 8 yards. This is completely pathetic. He has scored 1 touchdown this year, and while a good amount of you may be ready to drop Jones, we need to pump the brakes a little bit. The Lions have Atlanta in week 7, and if there is any matchup that Jones can take advantage of, It's this one. It doesn't get much stronger than this. Hold on to him for at least one more week. In fact, 4 of his next 5 matchups are actually good matchups for some of him, and some of your teams are very hampered by the bye weeks at this time. Don't drop Jones. Let's see how he does against the pathetic Falcons. And that is your latest fantasy football stock watch report. Week 6 going into week 7. Always stay with the family because you can't spell family without FA. The FA standing for Fantasy Alarm. Your family will always be with you as we're all trying to win rings in 2020. Let's get it all together as one.